10864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Ducks football.
We got to elevate and make our teaching standards elite.
Got him deep. He's open. He's got it. He's gone. It is picked up. Intercepted. Oregon with the ball.
There can't be any type of fading. It doesn't work that way.
20, 50. He's going to score. 10. Touchdown, Oregon.
We invested a lot of time in that, and we expect that to pay off in a big-time way.
Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
This is the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. Now, let's talk Oregon Ducks football. Alongside Mike Jorgensen and Joey Mac, here's the voice of the Ducks, Jerry Allen.
Holy cow. I cannot believe that we are sitting here doing this. I'm actually almost a little emotional. We're back. Football is back. Huh?
It's time to have some fun.
Oh,
okay.
Welcome to the show.
It's time.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, Jerry Allen, Jorgie, Joey Mac, guys. It seems like we've been waiting for 2 or 3 years for this. I know we played last year, but Jorgie didn't really feel like it.
No, I mean, a couple of things are still the same, right? The mask, we're still doing that. But just the thought of fans in Autzen Stadium and that team running out through the fog and ready to go and being just as fired up as anybody, being able to play in front of a stadium full of fans, Joey, it just can't be any better.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about, like, what are my keys to the game going to be? Like, we always go into these things thinking about, like, okay, you have to run the ball. Sorry to borrow a line from one Mike Jorgensen. But, you know, I was thinking, like, man, just the emotion of being back in Autzen Stadium, you know. And for a guy like Anthony Brown, who grew up watching Oregon, it's kind of a dream for him to start at quarterback. I mean, now he's going to have that opportunity. Just, you know, Coach Cristobal said it today, like, you know, I don't want to talk about emotion too much. You know, you don't want to really overdo it on that front. But, guys, I mean, it is going to be a little bit emotional, right? Like, we can all agree.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal, and it's going to be great to be back at Autzen.
When the motorcycle roars out with the duck on the back and the crowd goes crazy, it's going to be emotional.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
There's going to be a lot of guys nervous coming into the game because they've never played in front of a crowd like this. I mean, that's what you got to remember.
2 years worth.
Yeah. 2 years worth. And you talk about Anthony Brown, you know, it's been 2 years basically since he has started and played in a full football game.
Yeah.
And in particularly probably in front of a crowd. Yeah. So in a way, he's almost like a freshman in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, it's been about 700 days since Anthony Brown was playing in a football game. And, you know, he got asked today, we'll hear from him a little bit later on in the show, Anthony Brown, and he just said, boy, yeah, that's a long time. I mean, he was honest about it, right? I mean, what else can you say? But, so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be wild, guys. But I think, you know, all that aside, being back at Autzen Stadium is going to be magical. I never want to sit in season ticket holder seats ever again, because that's what I was doing last year. All of you that were supposed to be in Autzen Stadium and in the seats, I was walking around the bowl. It was weird. It was eerie. Let's put that behind us. Even though game day is going to look a little different, masks, proof of vaccination, GoDucks.com is your resource for all the different ways that things are going to be different. There's going to be some speed bumps. We know that. But, guys, I think it's important that if this is what it takes to have the Autzen family back together again, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm here for that.
No doubt about it. And there are going to be some changes, some things. No paper tickets. It's going to be all mobile ticketing. So that means that's an early game this week, 11:01 kickoff. So your phone's probably going to be charged this week. But in future weeks, make sure your phone is charged up so that after your tailgate, you'll come to the ticket gate, and then you're like, oh, my battery just died. So just simple little things like that. Clear bag policy. There's going to be food available inside.
I never would have thought of that.
Me neither. Until he said that, I just went, what? Oh, man.
Don't worry about that. Yeah, little things like that. Well, the show's back. Football is back. and it's good for everybody. I know there's still a lot of sadness around the country and around the world going on, and we're always aware of that and thinking of that, keeping our prayers out for all of you. But football is back, and we do get to celebrate that. So we're going to do that tonight. Defensive coordinator Tim DeRuyter is going to be our guest, first guest of the year. He's in the house right now, so we're going to get out of here. The Country Financial Studios, and when we come back, we're going to find out a little about Oregon football this year. Our first look at them this Saturday against Fresno State. And we are back after this from the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Ready to get back in the game? Great news. The movement experts at Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists can help you find relief and results and keep you off the sidelines. With 15 convenient locations across Portland, contact Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists today at proactivepts.com to see a physical therapist. Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists, a proud partner of Oregon Athletics and trusted choice for keeping Duck fans in the game.
Don't miss the chilling story of terror based on real-life events. The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, now available at Redbox. The newest installment in the Conjuring universe finds paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren fighting for the soul of an 8-year-old boy. The demonic twists and turns of the story take them beyond anything they'd ever seen before. The first time in U.S. history that a murder suspect would claim demonic possession as a defense. Watch The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Coaches Show. Jerry Allen along with Mike Jorgensen and our very first guest on the show this year. And I'm excited to talk to this gentleman. I feel like I've known him because he's been around the West Coast. He's coached at some incredible places, and he's an Air Force man. That's the first thing I'm going to say to you. Thank you for your service. I know that, but it might have been, a few years ago?
It was just a couple years ago, but I appreciate that, and I'm very thankful for all the other people, that men and women that serve and really have so many sacrifices so that we can play football and coach football and have the enjoyments and privileges that we do.
Coach, I talked to several people knowing we were going to get a chance to talk to you, and I asked, tell me about this man. Faith, family, truth, and love came up numerous times from people. Talk about that. Talk about your family. Talk about your faith.
Well, I'm very blessed. Been married 4 years now. It's been a while. But thankfully, being in football, it's like about dog years. It's about maybe a seventh of that because we're gone so much.
Right.
At least my wife says that. That's a fortunate part for her. But, no, very, very blessed to be married to Kara for that long. We've got 2 wonderful kids, one of which is serving the Air Force right now. He's an Air Force Academy grad as well. And I got a daughter that I tried to raise, but apparently I wasn't around her long enough, and I blame my wife. She's in football as well now. She's working at the University of Michigan as their director of on-campus recruiting and operations. So very, very proud of both those kids. I was just kidding before, but they're a huge part of my life, and I'm one of 8. I'm from a big family, big Dutch family. My dad was one of 13, and his family came over here after the war. So a little bit of an interesting story, but blessed to have been in this game for as long as I have and been around just super, super people.
Coach, you coached under some pretty special coaches. I think you started under Fisher DeBerry. Is that right? College Football Hall of Fame. He's just one of several.
Yes, yeah. Coach DeBerry, very blessed to have been associated with him. I was a junior at St. John Bosco High School in Bellflower when he came by and recruited me to the Air Force Academy. And I remember he's from. I don't know if you've ever met Coach DeBerry. But he's from Cheraw, South Carolina, and if you ever met him, his energy and his southern drawl is something you don't forget. And I was always taken back by him. I was never someone who was interested in the military, although I had pretty good grades and wanted to go to an elite academic school. But he made the pitch to me and said, hey, because I was recruited by some Ivy League schools, and he said, you want to play against Dartmouth and Brown, or you want to play against Notre Dame and BYU? And I was like, okay, give me that paper. I'll sign it.
You've been, obviously, as a coach, quite a few places. And now you make a big move from big city Bay Area back to a college town. And you've been in college towns before. I mean, College Station and places like that.
Athens, Ohio.
Yeah. I mean, what's it like getting back to a place like Eugene? And what do you think about Eugene so far?
We love it. My wife, every time we move different places, she always thinks of the smaller towns as some of her favorite places. There's a great community here that we've been fortunate to meet a few people. With COVID, it's been a little difficult. But it's been great to reconnect with some people like Ken Wilson, Marcel Yates, who was with us at Cal, Jim Mastro. So we've had some connections here, and be able to reconnect with those people have been really, really special. And this summer was at a booster event and got to meet some of the Duck community that are just fantastic people that support the Ducks, and just really reached out and been fortunate to meet some of them. So we're really excited to be here in the community.
And unlike A&M, not enough people recognize you yet, right? I mean, it's a little different down there.
Yeah,
right?
no, that's actually a nice benefit. When I went there, it was a little scary. I mean, they had to put you up in an assumed name when you're getting interviewed, and we couldn't go out to dinner without people, maybe a half dozen people coming up to you wanting to talk about the game Saturday, or it could have been spring football and they wanted to talk about it. So a little bit different there. It's awesome here, and been really, really fortunate.
Coach, as you get ready to go into your first game here, you knew about Oregon. I mean, you've been on the West Coast, you've been around. The coaching fraternity is kind of like a family, so this is like almost a reunion of sorts. You mentioned that. Talk about Oregon before you got here, what you knew about Oregon, what excited you about Oregon.
Well, I'll tell you, it's really been kind of a journey. When I was in high school, Oregon wasn't nearly what it is now.
No doubt.
You go back to the early 80s, and Oregon struggled. And when Coach Brooks got here, it really, became Oregon, in my opinion.
Yes.
Of course, Coach Bellotti, doing what he did, and Coach Kelly, this thing's been on a trajectory, and I think Coach Cristobal now is the right guy at the right time at the right place, with the support of the community, the administration that gets it, that wants to compete at the highest level. And we've got a head coach and guy who is leading this program, who's seen what it's supposed to look like and knows what it's supposed to look like from a culture, from a physicality, from a on and off the field culture. And I think, having an opportunity to come here, seeing it from afar where it's at right now, I wanted to be at a place where I thought had a chance to win a national championship. And I don't think there's a lot of places in this country. There might be a dozen that have legitimate chances. There's a lot of people that think they do, but the reality is they don't. And this is one of the places that's going to have a chance because of the quality of player you can recruit, and the support of the fans, the support of the administration, and then when you have a leader like Coach Cristobal.
You have always been on the defensive side of the ball. You have something against offensive guys, or
no? I we laugh all the time in our defensive meeting. I got hit in the head too many times when I was in early. Cause knowing the rules the way they are now, it's painful being on defense, But I liken it to those kids that when they go out in the neighborhood and they meet with the other kids. If you're one of those kids that breaks all the toys and the mom sends you back home, you're a defensive guy, and that was me growing up, I guess, and. That's why I've been on this side of the ball for so long.
You're in a unique situation where you've been a head coach before, coaching for a head coach with a couple of other people on the staff that have been head coaches too. What's your approach to that as a former head coach working for a head coach?
Well, I'll tell you, having been a head coach, you really appreciate assistants who get it. And you've got a very different perspective because you understand what the head coach is thinking, because there's so many things that has to go through his desk. And so I want to be that assistant that takes care of his business in the way that he doesn't have to worry about our side of the ball. He's obviously going to have his input, obviously going to have his signature on the culture and the brand of football we want to have. But I just want to be one less distraction for him and one less thought that, hey, Coach DeRuyter and the defense staff are going to take care of that defense the way I want it to be done, speaking for Coach Cristobal, in the brand that he wants to present.
You're a defensive guy, but as a head coach, you had to understand offenses. So you have a different perspective from a guy who's just been a defensive coordinator or a defensive coach. You know the other side as well.
Yeah, no, I did. I noticed this, that when you have a quarterback like Derek Carr, you can be a pretty good head coach, and not to disparage the other young men we had, but Derek was special, and when we had him with Davante Adams, it was really, really special.
It helps.
Yeah.
Well, and again, on one of your trips here to Autzen Stadium, you saw it with obviously Marcus Mariota and that particular team. When you have a special guy at that position, it can make a really good team great, and you had it too.
Yeah, no, was very blessed to be with those guys. Coach Hill had recruited both of them. They were in a situation in their careers. They played early, or Derek played early. Davante hadn't played yet, but they just hadn't quite matured yet, and we were blessed to help them develop along the way and see them do some great things and really elevated the Bulldog program back then.
He is the defensive coordinator, Tim DeRuyter. He also works with the outside linebackers, and he is our first guest for our Go Ducks football show this year. Game 1 coming up, week 0. I still don't understand why they call it week 0. Maybe Coach understands it. We'll find out more when we come back. Got a lot of questions for him as we continue the first show of the 2021 season. It's great to be back. We are here in the side of the Country Financial Studios, and we're back after this in the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
What's it like to grow with the O? At OCCU, we support Duck fans each step of the way by educating our youth with Lucky Duck Savings, celebrating independence with Duck Debit Checking, and rewarding members with the Duck Credit Card. That's how Duck fans grow with OCCU. Learn how you can too at myoccu.org/ducks.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Ducks football lives here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking. Now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside our studio. It's a Pepsi Coach's Spotlight. Coach Tim DeRuyter with us tonight, our first guest on our first show, and a little emotional, a little excited. I mean, you got to be too. I mean, it's still under the umbrella of COVID, but fans are going to be back inside of Autzen Stadium. And Coach, as a coach, your players probably get a little geeked up about that, huh?
Well, not just the players, the coaches are. We haven't coached a game in front of a crowd in a couple of years.
Wow.
And it was surreal last year. We only got 4 games at Cal. The preparation for it was just so different, not having the traditional camp in summer and then you didn't know week to week whether you're going to play, and we had games canceled. So it just didn't seem like a real season. And so it's been such a long time from having that. I know our coaches are chomping at the bit to get out there and just wake up on game day. And just that feeling you have, it just reminds you why you do this. It's one of those legal drugs that keep old guys like me in the game.
I'm curious, before Jorgie jumps in, you coach upstairs or downstairs?
It's dependent on the year, but this year I'm going to coach upstairs. Okay. I think I can analyze the game better from up there. When I've been with a staff like I have that, Ken Wilson's our co-defensive coordinator and is a really, really sharp coach. And, he and I are simpatico on how we think. He can make adjustments to the entire unit. We'll have discussions. And so having guys like him really help that I can go up there. If I didn't feel that way, I may have to be on the side. Yeah. If you have a young team, sometimes you want to see their eyes as they come off in order to make adjustments. But, we've got some guys that have played some football. And even though we're a young team, we've got some guys that have, quite a few starts under their belt and understand the game. And I feel really good about.
We certainly enjoy and appreciate what you and your coaching staff did at Cal the last 4 years when you were down there. Coached with a lot of Ducks, obviously, Bill Musgrave and Will Cox and all those guys. Peter. But there's a couple of 2 or 3 guys that you coached in particular that kind of stick out. The Evan Weavers, the Kanashiks, the people like that. I look at the stats of the tackles that particularly Evan Weaver made a couple of years in a row. What made him different, I guess? Well, was there a difference?
I don't think it was a scheme thing. I think it was an Evan Weaver thing. He was somebody who, I think he grew up with a little chip on his shoulder. He grew up in Eastern Washington and kind of wanted to go to one of those state schools up there and didn't get an opportunity to. So he came to Cal with a chip on his shoulder. And I remember when I first got there with Coach Wilcox, he was injured and had surgery and didn't go through spring ball. And I don't know if you've seen him. He's got, kind of, strawberry blonde hair and big rosy cheeks, and at the time was maybe a little bit overweight and kind of looked like a roly-poly kind of kid. And he comes in, Coach, I just want to meet you. I know you haven't seen me play, but I'm your best football player. And I kind of looked at him. I said, okay. But I love that attitude that the guy had. He felt like he can make every single tackle.
Man.
And at first I chuckled because they quite frankly weren't great on defense the year before, and I said, well, it's kind of like being All-State in Rhode Island. You're the best player here. We got to get everybody better. But he took that chip into every game and just played with a violence that I think is rare. He wanted to get to players and hurt them, and it was fun to watch.
And he did.
We enjoyed it.
He had that Dick Butkus mentality. When you watched him play, it was like, man. And we got one right now that I think is similar to him in number 1 and number 10.
I remember playing against some of those guys and thinking, gee, I wish we had 1 or 2 of those guys. Well, yeah, you're right. Now I think the Ducks do. Your defensive philosophy, you mentioned earlier when we were talking how the game has changed, the offensive side of the ball. Have you changed any of your defensive philosophy because of the way it's changed?
Well, I think schematically things have changed, and so you've got to adapt from a schematic system. But from an overall philosophy, I've always believed in pressure, trying to confuse quarterbacks, want them to make decisions that, sometimes the tempo in their head's going to change. We might be rushing 3 at times. We might be rushing 6 or 7. And he's going to have to process things at different times, different rates, see a different picture pre-snap than he does post-snap. Maybe, right before a snap, a different disguise, and try to get them where they don't feel comfortable. And so the schemes themselves, because people are spreading out in the RPO game, you've got to be alert to. But just that overall philosophy of trying to not be vanilla all the time, I think it's really hard. We're not in an era anymore where you can just rush 4 and play man coverage and just be better than people. There's very, very few people that can do that. And we've got really good players.
Inside backers, you talked about them, but you got somebody outside. In fact, you got a couple of guys outside. You got Funa. You got more than a couple of guys. Jackson. You got Thibodeau and that type of deal. You coached a guy named Von Miller at Texas A&M. Very high draft choice. Obviously, that's what everybody is thinking that Thibodeau is going to be. How do you compare those two guys? What you remember about Von Miller and seen in the NFL and the way that Thibodeau plays?
Well, it's interesting. We've had dozens of scouts here the last couple of weeks, watching, Kevon in particular, and a lot of our guys, and every one of them asked the same thing to compare those two. To me, their similarities are they have elite get-off, elite explosiveness coming out of their hips in pass rush. That's where they're similar. Where they differentiate is, and not to disparage Von, I think Kevon's much more powerful at the point of attack. He is a really strong guy who can come out of his hips and explode on offensive tackles. So his speed to power is at a different level than what Von is. Von was more of a slippery, looser in the hips guy. He was a guy that could get to an edge, and he looks like he's riding those motorcycles where he's about 12 inches off the ground, turn the corner. I haven't seen anybody that can do those kind of things. And then out in space, Coach Sherman, for laughs every now and then would let Von on a Thursday return punts, and he'd, tell the punter to, kick a long one so that the guys, couldn't get on him. When guys would go down in our starting punt team, he'd make guys miss, and they couldn't tackle him. He was that electric in space. Kevon's not that guy, but he'll be playing some outside linebacker. We'll do some disguise drop stuff. In a 2-minute situation today, he got his first interception. So, he likes to think he can do everything, and I love that about him. The other thing about Kevon is he's a guy who has a plan not just for today, but for his future. He's a very, very intelligent guy, and I really like working with him because he's somebody who wants to be challenged every day. How do I get better, Coach? How can I do this better? And it challenges you as a coach to keep working to get him better.
You need leaders on both sides of the ball. Got to have a quarterback on the defense side, too, and in different areas in the field. Verone McKinley III has got to be one of those guys for you.
Yeah, well, Verone's the guy. Really on the back end, he's the voice back there that gets everybody lined up. But not just that. He's the guy that, gets our team going. He's the guy that is a steadying influence back there. It's like having a coach on the field with him back there, and he's done a terrific job. He understands the game. He's a guy that gets himself lined up correctly so he can play really, really fast, and he understands the game. So he's one of those guys that I anticipate should have a lot of takeaways this year because he's going to put himself in position to make those plays.
Jordy, I'm going to let you jump the last question, then we got to let him go.
Yeah, I know, because we wanted to ask about Fresno State and everything else. But, Coach, repetitions obviously are so important to players in their development, in their continued development. From spring to fall, is there anybody that really sticks out to you that has taken a big leap forward, or a few guys?
Yeah, I hesitate. I hesitate to just pick out one or two. Yeah. At the outside linebacker position, I think Adrian Jackson from spring to now has become much more dependable. He's always been an explosive guy off the edge, but he's becoming more of a guy who we feel he can play on first and second down more. Braden Swinson's done some really good things. Jake Shipley's been very, very physical. Mace Funa, he has come back in much better shape. He's dropped about 20 pounds from spring and has really been impressive. I can go on and on with the guys in my room. I've been impressed with Drew Mathis, the way he plays. Drew's a guy in college football now with the transfer portal. Here's a guy who I believe is in his 6th year and is a really good football player, could start a lot of places. And he will likely start here, but he's going to have to earn his job because he's got, 2 guys that are, going to be NFL guys competing with him every day. And he didn't decide to punch his ticket and say, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to greener pastures where I'm going to guarantee a start. He decided to stay here because he loves the Ducks, loves his team. And I think he thinks, like I do, we got a chance to have a really special year.
That's great.
You guys ready to hit somebody else other than
you
ready?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Game 1 coming up. He is defensive coordinator, works with linebackers, Tim DeRuyter. Coach, can't thank you enough for spending time. I hope we get you back again. Love talking with you.
Well, love being on. Appreciate it. And go Ducks.
Go Ducks. All right. Coach's Spotlight brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. We are back to the Country Financial Studios after this from Learfield.
Don't miss the chilling story of terror based on real-life events. The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Now available at Redbox. The newest installment in the Conjuring universe finds paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren fighting for the soul of an 8-year-old boy. The demonic twists and turns of the story take them beyond anything they'd ever seen before. The first time in U.S. history that a murder suspect would claim demonic possession as a defense. Watch The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s, like go back to college, learn to skateboard. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. At aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a free 3-minute chat with the friendly digital retirement coach, Avo, and receive personalized tips to help boost your savings. Start chatting with Avo today at aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse? Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam, ran right into the side of the saloon. Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Week 0 is gone by. I can't get over it. I shouldn't talk about it. Week 0?
The only thing that I can think about is when I was in high school, we had what was called zero period, and it was like if you had a really early morning class before. That's the only thing that I can compare it to, and I'll be honest, in high school, I hated that it was called zero period. I hated it. Why?
I don't know. I tell Jorgie you can't be 1-year-old till you get to your first birthday, so maybe that's the same thing. They don't count the first year. I don't know. Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studios. He's Joey Mac. Jorgie, I'm Jerry Allen.
That really took a left turn.
It did. Cross country men and women running actually this evening. They're probably done now. Tomorrow, women's volleyball. Number 13 Oregon women volleyball are at Rice in Houston, Texas. 4 in the afternoon. They play again on Friday. Mm-hmm. And then soccer is hosting UC Santa Barbara on Friday as well. And then there's a football game this week.
That's right.
Oh, my God. Now, you got a chance to talk to a lot of the guys, and we've heard from a lot of the guys. Let's hear from some of them tonight.
Yeah, so, let's start first and foremost with the obvious, everybody. We're all excited to be back at Autzen Stadium. Well, I mean, we're all excited about it.
Yeah.
I think selfishly it sure makes the broadcast crew sound a lot better when there's fans cheering along with Jerry and Jorgie in the booth, and me, you don't ever hear on the sideline during touchdown calls, but that's usually me jumping up and down, something like that. Well, the guys feel that way too. The players feel that way too. Oregonian, we'll start with Alex Forsyth. The starting center for the Ducks has really taken over a leadership role. What was his reaction thinking about, man, there's going to be fans back in Autzen Stadium?
I've been getting goosebumps all week just thinking about a packed Autzen Stadium when we heard there was fans. I got super excited. We haven't had fans in there since the Oregon State week of 2019, so I couldn't be more excited to get that place rocking, get back to full capacity. I'm excited.
Man, I mean, I think that says it all, right? It's just goosebumps for all of us right now. Well, one guy who might be dealing with some of those goosebumps as well is Anthony Brown. Grew up watching Oregon. What was his reaction? What's he going to be thinking about when he gets his first start?
Shoot, I'm excited. I've been watching Oregon since I was young, so I'm excited to get out there in front of the fans and do something well.
Do something well.
Don't
we all just want to do something well?
I just want to see AB take over and do what he does because he can do a lot of things. That's what I'm looking for. That's my excitement level.
We've seen it. He's done it. And he's done it at practice quite a bit.
Yeah.
One guy who has seen that is one of the guys blocking for him. You already heard from him, Alex Forsyth. Alex Forsyth talking about Anthony Brown might be the quote of the week right here.
He's cooler than the other side of the pillow. He's calm. He's a flatliner. He literally is just the same person every single day, and I love that because sometimes guys can have high energy one day, low energy, and you don't want to be like that. So he's got the best energy because he's the same every single day. He's a high energy guy, but he keeps that high energy. He keeps everybody around him, cool, calm, and collected. So it's great having him in the locker room and having him lead our offense.
Have you guys ever heard that phrase before? Cooler than the other side of the pillow? I mean, I'm a guy. I flip the pillow over for sure, but I've never heard that. Was that Stuart Scott? Oh, I didn't know that.
I've heard it before, but I could not tell you.
Yeah, I couldn't place it. I knew what he meant, but no, that was quote of the week.
Great.
So he's cooler than the other side of the pillow. One of the guys he's throwing to is Johnny Johnson III. Johnny Yams, of course. We've heard that story a time or two of how he got that nickname. If you don't know it was on a previous coach's show. Johnny was spectacular, talking about how he once ate yams before a middle school football game, and then suddenly that was his nickname forever.
I had beans before a game once. Is that
Jerry Beans.
Is that why we call you what we call you?
Let Joey finish, will you?
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Johnny Johnson, look, hey, he was asked this week about Anthony Brown and just kind of what it's going to be like for him and what presence he brings to this team.
I think it's just taking command and, kind of being that leader, that tip of the spear for us, bringing guys together when things aren't going right, keeping us level-headed and keeping us up. And whether the wide receiver makes a bad play or he makes a bad throw, it's kind of a collective, like we understand and we just need to get better on the next play. That's kind of what he's shown the entire camp, so yeah.
So Johnny Johnson agrees with what Alex Forsyth said, and Jorgie, that's what a quarterback has to be, right? They got to be calm, cool, collected, and they got to lead their team.
I mean, just even in the interview that you saw with him, Joey, I mean, he was just smooth, flat line all the way through, and just real short and to the point. And again, I think players they love the guys that get excited, but you got to keep that even control keel out during the game.
So meanwhile, for Johnny Johnson, was he surprised that Anthony Brown was the starting quarterback for the Ducks?
Yeah, we all knew he was going to be the guy, and he obviously proved it throughout camp. It wasn't handed to him, so he had to go out there and perform every day. So he earned it for sure. I think he does a lot of great things though. He's a great pocket presence. He can put the ball on the line. He can throw it deep. He makes good decisions. Knows how to find people. Knows how to find the check downs when he's getting pressured. Things like that. So he's a smart player overall. He has experience and he's ready to go.
All right, one more on Anthony Brown. Back to Alex Forsyth because a center's got to have some chemistry with his quarterback. The offensive line's got to have some chemistry with his quarterback. Alex Forsyth seems to think that they've got that chemistry with their quarterback.
Yeah, no, a lot of spring, a lot of film sessions together. Our lockers are actually right next to each other, so that helps too. He's been great. Reach out to me. I reach out to him about blitzes. Pretty much every look we're going to see, I'll reach out. We'll text each other, hey, do you want to watch film? Whatever it may be. That's huge with center and quarterbacks. I always say 5 as 1 right when I get up the line, just talking to the O-line, but it's really 6 or 7 as 1 when you're talking about protections. You got to have the quarterback and the running back on the same page as well. So that's huge for us, is just building that chemistry, especially me and him, center quarterback.
There you go. One of those guys that's going to be catching the ball, and I think maybe some eyebrows went up when you saw the depth chart, the organizational chart for the Ducks on Monday. A true freshman in Troy Franklin is going to be in there at wide receiver. He's the real deal. Trust me. I think anybody who has seen him play, he's the real deal. Johnny Johnson was asked about Troy Franklin this week.
As far as releases, knowing technically how to get open, using your hands, making contested catches, not letting the bright lights, make you underperform or anything like that. When the pressure's on, he's making plays for us. He's gonna have a big year. He's a dog. He's been putting in work since he got here in spring, and he showed the coaches that he has the ability to, take the information of the offense and apply it on the field and make big plays and contested catches and, do all the right things that he should. So I'm excited for that dude. He's gonna have a big year for us. And
Johnny Johnson talking about Troy Franklin. Elsewhere for the Ducks, a couple more on the offense. I think everybody's kind of curious what the offensive identity is going to be. Well, Coach Cristobal got asked about that today, and he said, well, I don't think I can really tell you because we got to go out there and show it. So what is the identity going to be, Johnny Johnson III?
I think we have a lot of weapons. I think when you look at us from the outside in, you kind of don't know who's going to, be getting the ball or who is going to be, going to be favored on this play or whatever. We don't give a lot of tendencies. We have so many playmakers, so, it's going to be hard to stop us. I would say we do a lot of things where we don't have an identity. Just my personal opinion. I think we have a lot of, we move around. We do a lot of different things. A lot of different people get the ball, so you can't really key anything for us. And I think Moorhead does a great job of doing that, so it's hard for people to stop us. So I wouldn't say we have any identity right now.
What sticks out to me there is the depth. We hear a lot about the depth of this team. When you put together back-to-back historic recruiting classes, you tend to have a lot of depth to work with. One more on the offense. Well, we got to ask a little bit about Fresno State. What are the Ducks going to see when they face off with the Bulldogs? Alex Forsyth talking about their defense.
You know, they all have great motors. You know, every single one of the defensive guys that you watch on film, they're flying at the ball. They really do 11 hats to the football there at Fresno State, and you know it's going to be a great challenge. They bring some exotic looks a little bit, exotic blitzes. They're really physical up front, I'll say. All their D linemen that they rotate in are really physical, trying to knock you back. You know, the linebackers are sideline players. They're running sideline to sideline. They're coming downhill, so it's going to be a great challenge. They all play fast and physical. It'll be a great challenge.
Alex Forsyth, Johnny Johnson, Anthony Brown, talking about Fresno State. Now we got to talk about the defense, Jerry.
Yeah, okay. I like the no identity thing. I kind of like that. Teams.
We're going to find out.
Yeah,
what do you focus in on
exactly?
For the defense,
How do you
right?
prepare for this Oregon team?
That's
We'll
right.
talk more. Going to hear from KT coming up in a moment too. I just love listening to this man talk and watching him play. We're in the Country Financial Studios, and we're back with more after this from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Jerry Allen, Jorgie, and Joey Mac, and we got more guys to hear from. And I love this guy, KT. I remember the day he got here.
Well, me too. And, you know, one of the things that he said to me one time in the locker room is that someday he wants to be the football version of Shaq. Well, the way that Coach Derooter described him, not just on the football field, but thinking about the bigger picture off the football field, I think he has the chance to do that. Now, Kevon Thibodeau, we're all excited to watch him on the field, but I'll tell you what, he's excited to see people in Autzen Stadium again, but he's thinking about it. This is why you like to hear from him as a team leader. You'll hear why.
Now it's just going to, it's really a test of how, the people who haven't played in front of a crowd, how they handle it. Because a lot of guys have done it before, but this is going to be the first time a lot of our team has played in a big crowd in the stands. So, just being out there with them is going to be fun.
How about that? He's sitting here thinking already about his teammates. He gets asked about the crowd, and it's like, well, now you got to take this seriously. You can't just walk in and let the emotions get the better of you. That's Kevon Thibodeau. That's what he's thinking about right now. One cornerback spot that we're still waiting to see who's going to start. They're probably both going to play. You're going to hear from both of them. Triquez Bridges, Dante Manning. That's one of the spots that heading into this week, Coach Cristobal said that there was going to be some competition. Well, Triquez Bridges was also asked about what it's going to be like playing in Autzen Stadium with people back in the building.
Well, honestly, I mean, it's a blessing. But the thing is, I don't want to think it. You know, I'm humble. I still try to take every day, day by day, just get better. I'm really not just focused on just playing Autzen, because every day in practice is a game rep for me. So it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. So I'm just blessed and just ready to be in Autzen and play in Autzen.
Tell you what, that was the most honest answer I could ever think of, because he's trying not to overthink it, but he totally knows that it's a big deal, but he's still saying all the right things. That's Trikweze Bridges. And, his length for both him and Dante Manning, guys, they've got 7-foot wingspans. Both of them competing to play that boundary cornerback spot. Speaking of that, who's going to start? Well, Dante Manning says it doesn't much matter.
Honestly, to me, it doesn't matter, because I know that we're both going to contribute to this team, and we got bigger eyes, bigger dreams. We want to win this natty. Who's starting the first game is not really something I'm finna talk about.
How about that? Who's going to start in that national championship game is kind of what they're hoping for, right? Well, we can sit here and knock on wood for that, right, guys?
One at a time.
One at a time. That's right. One at a time. Dante Manning, though, also thinking about one at a time. He got asked this week about what are some of his goals and the defensive goals for this squad.
Bittersweet to me, not being able to finish the season and contribute to the team wins and the team losses. But, I mean, this year, the key is just to stay healthy and make the biggest impact I can as a player, as a man, as an Oregon Duck to this program.
Guys, how about that?
I love that.
Just stay on the field.
Yeah.
And for him, that was something that he wasn't able to do, and sometimes no fault of your own. I love that. I think this secondary has a lot to prove. I kind of like that. It's a lot of guys like Dante Manning, like Trikweze Bridges, that do have a little bit of something to prove. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table.
I like the idea that he's talking about being able to participate to help his teammates.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Good
I'm all
stuff.
for it.
Good stuff.
Finally, Kevon Thibodeau, the coach that was just in here, I will say we talked about playing this for Coach Derooter while he was in here. We decided not to. Probably could have. Kevon Thibodeau talking about his new defensive coordinator, Tim DeRuyter.
I feel like his play call is really strategic and it's really smart. He doesn't really get too nervous, and he really has a plan for everything. So just being able to see how that works into a game and letting us go out there and play free, I feel like it's to our advantage.
We hear that phrase, play free, from this Oregon defense all the time. What the heck does that mean, Jorgie?
Well, you saw it partially when DeRuyter was coaching at Cal.
Yeah.
I mean, guys doing all kinds of things, trying to get to the quarterback, trying to create situations, using the linebackers freely. I mean, and again, when you get a guy like Kevon Thibodeau, not only the inside backers with Mathis and Flo and Sewell, but when you got guys like they have on the outside, athletic Thibodeau, Jackson, Funa, you can play really free with guys like that, because an offense is going to have to account for too many people, and they can't account for them all.
I'm excited to see what this defense brings to the table.
Don't be afraid to let it go.
Yeah.
That's the attitude. And they feel it.
Don't think, just play.
Just play. All right. We got more. I hope we get to the toolbox. Let's come back to the Country Financial Studios. Okay, good. We're going to come back. A little bit of a surprise. Fun stuff coming up on the Coaches Show, the Football Coaches Show, first one for the year from Learfield.
You're not too cool for me. And in return, I reciprocate that sentiment. I'll never be too cool for you. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. Please let it be noted that I told my job they can dock my pay. Right now, it's just too important to take you to school every day. I want to be legendary for you. I want you to puff out your chest when you go to school, the same way I do. I walk taller because of you, because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too. Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too. Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart savings strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studios. Jerry, Jorgie, and Joey, and first football show of the year. Just feels good. But I wanted to give it to you, Joey, really quickly because I wanted to hear the toolbox.
Yeah, so, okay, everybody has heard this phrase a little bit from Alex Forsyth, and I kind of knew the origin of it, but I wanted to know, like, man, when did people start calling you the toolbox? And the reason they call him toolbox is now something that has really permeated across the entire offensive line, and it really dates back even to the Calvin Throckmorton days. You'll hear how Alex Forsyth got the name toolbox.
Yeah, that actually started with Coach Terry, who's now at Hawaii. I'd play every position, and there'd be Coach Mirabal put the organizational chart up for every team period we were doing, and it would be like, okay, 78's at right guard, then the next period he's at right tackle, next period he's at center. Okay, now he's going to left guard and then left tackle. So there'd be practices where I didn't play the same position 2 racks in a row. I would be going through and doing whatever. So I just had to roll with that, and Coach Terry one day he just started calling me toolbox because I could do everything. So he just started calling me that, and it just kind of stuck, and that was just kind of my nickname.
So I asked him that, and I kind of knew the origin, but it's perfect because, Alex Mirabal, Oregon's offensive line coach, talks all the time about how he wants guys to be able to play multiple positions because if you have to bump a guy over to a different position, maybe that's because the backup at right tackle is better than the backup at right guard. You got to have your best 5. Well, sometimes the way to do that is to have guys be able to play multiple positions. Alex Forsyth has really bought into that, and I think that's why actually he makes a really good center. Because he understands the way that the entire offensive line operates.
Oregon's been good at that through the years.
Yeah, didn't Throckmorton play every position on the offensive line too?
He did. He started, I think, at 4 of them in 1 year and then did play all 5.
I want to see him at tailback. Forsyth at tailback?
He probably could
fullback?
Guys, the other thing is Terry Johns threw the flag at us during the break. We do have a flag in the studio.
I was just going to say a week.
Well, it actually got me thinking, guys. I mean, one thing that doesn't get talked about very often with this team, and it's a good thing, is penalties. The pre-snap penalties in particular have dropped way down under Coach Cristobal, and we have not seen a lot of these on the field.
That's focus. That's focus.
That's what you want.
All right, 11:01 is the kickoff this Saturday against a team that has already played a game, Fresno State, and they pounded UConn. I mean, they owned them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of teams are going to pound UConn, okay? And that's not to take away from Fresno State. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Big second quarter. A lot of skilled athletes, a lot of skilled players on offense in particular. It's going to be a tough game.
You're going to see a lot of people play football this year for Oregon. They've got depth, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of new faces. I think some of the freshmen or first-year guys are going to contribute this year too, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, you look just at the depth chart. Maliki Matavao is a guy who's listed as potentially a starter at tight end. Terrence Ferguson is going to back up Spencer Webb, it looks like. Now, the tight end group, way deeper than it was just availability of players-wise last year. Same thing at running back, guys. Sean Dollar's still working his way back, probably about a mid-year addition to the running back room, Coach Cristobal said. But guys like Trey Benson, as he gets healthier. Byron Cardwell and Seven McGee as true freshmen look really good behind C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye. Not to mention the wide receivers. We talked about Troy Franklin, Dante Thornton, Isaiah Brevard. All of those guys, those freshmen, those young guys coming onto this team. I think the skill positions and the pass catchers in particular, it's the deepest that maybe Coach Cristobal's had since he got to Oregon.
Yeah.
The offensive line, Coach Mirabal said when we last talked to him, he thought they needed to be about 7-8. They're close to that. I think offensively, you're going to see a lot of guys. And defensively, as Coach DeRuyter alluded to a little bit, you kind of want to see a lot of different guys. If you have the depth to keep fresh guys on the defense, that only makes your defense better.
Important. I used to hate watching or play against defenses that were always jumping and moving and changing and, making it difficult in your offense. That's what we're going to see from Oregon's defense this year.
Yeah, and again, just the level of athletes, of skilled big athletes at the linebacker position, along that defensive line, in the secondary. It's just, I can't wait to watch this defense under Coach DeRuyter. Just how much I've enjoyed watching the Cal Bears play on defense. And Oregon only scored 17 points each of the last 2 years against that Cal defense, and even with a Rose Bowl year type of situation. So hoping that he could do the same thing here. He's got the tools to be able to do it. Now it's going to be fun, and Saturday can't get here sooner enough. Wait.
Oh, yes, got goosebumps. You mentioned it. You'll be on the sideline?
Yeah.
Pregame show. Terry John's got you. 9 a.m. to start for the pregame show. 11:01 kickoff. Number one, get inside the stadium early. Don't wait.
That's why gates are opening 2 hours before. There's going to be a little bit longer wait time to get in. Give yourself that time. Maybe preload those tickets into the GoDucks Game Day app.
Yeah.
And then 11:01. It's not like one of those 11:06, 11:10.
Don't miss
This
kickoff.
is 11:01. I mean, Terry Johns is laughing at me because he's going, yeah, I know. We got to get to it.
Be ready. Be ready. The team is. We'll talk to you on Saturday. Go Ducks. Bye-bye.
This has been the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.